The priests believed the sacred fire could reveal truth. For generations, the ritual had obeyed the temple without question. It exposed traitors, it confirmed rulers, it judged the accused, and it never made mistakes. That is why what happened inside the chamber terrified ancient Egypt, because one night, the fire stopped obeying. The ritual was performed deep beneath the temple walls, far from the eyes of the people. Only the high priests were permitted to enter. The chamber itself had existed long before the reigning dynasty. Its walls were covered with older symbols even the younger priests no longer understood. At the center stood the basin of flame, a sacred fire fed with oils, resin, and rituals known only to the temple. The priests believed the flame was alive, not alive like a man, alive like judgment itself. When a ruler stood before it, the fire responded. If the throne was favored, the flame rose calmly. If deception entered the chamber, the fire changed violently. At least, that was what the priests taught, and for years no one questioned it, until the ritual of the seventh chamber. The city above the temple had already begun to fracture. Rumors spread through the streets. The people whispered that the crown no longer carried divine favor. Some claimed the temples had become corrupted. Others believed the rituals themselves had lost power. The priests dismissed these rumors publicly, but privately, they were afraid, because strange things had already begun happening inside the chamber. Flames moved before ceremonies began. Sacred oils ignited without command, and one priest claimed he saw the fire bend toward a witness standing near the wall. The High Council ordered silence. No record was to leave the temple. The rituals continued, but fear had already entered the chamber. Then came the night that changed everything. A royal ceremony had been prepared. The purpose was simple. The fire would confirm the future ruler before the temple witnesses. Nothing unusual, nothing dangerous. At least, that was the expectation. The chamber was sealed before sunset. The priests entered barefoot in silence. Incense filled the air. The sacred basin remained dark at the center of the room. Then the chants began. Slowly, the fire awakened. At first, everything appeared normal. The flame rose steadily. The priests relaxed. But then, the fire shifted. Not upward, sideways, toward one of the witnesses. The chamber immediately fell silent. That had never happened before. The witness was not royal, not noble, not even part of the priesthood. He was merely a recorder assigned to preserve the ritual proceedings. Yet the flame bent toward him. The priest froze. One elder immediately ordered the chants to continue. Another demanded the witness be removed. But before anyone moved, the fire rose higher. The basin cracked beneath it, and the flame divided into two separate columns. Several priests stepped backward in fear, because the ancient temple writings described this exact event. A divided flame, a broken judgment, a sign that the ritual no longer recognized the authority of the throne. The chamber descended into chaos. Some priests insisted the ritual must stop immediately. Others argued ending it would be even more dangerous. The witness himself stood motionless, watching. Then the impossible happened. The flame moved again, not with the wind, not with the smoke. Another began repeating prayers under his breath. The high priest ordered the chamber sealed. No one was permitted to leave. The rituals continued deep into the night. But the fire no longer behaved as expected. It ignored commands, ignored chants, ignored the throne. At moments, the flame dimmed almost completely, then suddenly erupted violently against the walls of the basin. The priest realized something horrifying. The fire was no longer participating in the ritual. It was reacting to something else entirely, and whatever it recognized inside the chamber terrified them. Near midnight, one priest approached the basin carrying sacred oil. He intended to stabilize the flame using the old rites, but as he poured the oil, the fire vanished. Completely, the chamber went dark. No smoke, no ember, nothing. Several priests gasped in terror, because according to temple law, the sacred fire could never fully die during judgment. Never. Then, from the darkness, a single flame appeared again, but not inside the basin. Behind the witnesses, a priest screamed, another dropped to his knees. The fire had moved on its own. The ancient writings spoke of this too, only in forbidden sections hidden from ordinary temple archives. The moving flame, the wandering judgment, the sign that truth had escaped containment. At that moment, the high priest understood the danger. If the people learned what had happened inside the chamber, the authority of the temples could collapse. The crown itself could lose legitimacy. So the order was given. No witness would speak. No record would survive. Everything that happened that night would be erased. The official story announced the ritual had succeeded. The people accepted it. The temples continued their ceremonies. The priests maintained control. But privately, fear consumed them. Because strange events continued after that night. The sacred basin cracked further without explanation. Flames appeared inside sealed rooms. Temple guards reported seeing light moving through corridors long after rituals had ended. And several priests abandoned the temple entirely. One disappeared before sunrise and was never seen again. But the strangest detail came from the recorder, the witness chosen by the flame. According to hidden fragments recovered years later, he refused promotion, refused wealth, refused protection from the temple. Instead, he vanished quietly into the southern territories. And for years afterward, rumors spread through Egypt. Rumors of a man followed by impossible fire. Some called him cursed, others called him chosen. The priests called him something else entirely, the living judgment. Because the temple eventually realized the terrifying truth. The ritual had not failed. The fire had not become corrupted. The sacred flame was still revealing truth. It simply stopped revealing the truth the priests wanted. And that terrified ancient Egypt more than any enemy ever could. Because once judgment escapes the control of power, nothing remains hidden forever. And somewhere beyond the temples, the fire was still watching.